I consider Calypso music to be the heartbeat of Montserrat. Heard 365 days of the year, these artists are truly historians. I have been told that if you want to know what's going on in the island, listen to the Calypso songs at the competition at the end of the year. But I want to know more than that. What were the shows like pre-2000s? What did the Calypsonians sing about? Being in the band house, I've heard stories about the energy of the crowd and what a big deal the competition was to the festival experience. But let's start with what Christmas in Montserrat was like before the festival was introduced.
Christmas in Montserrat was like a village thing, the masquerades will come out and practice at Starlight Night in preparation for Christmas morning.
All I know that we used to see the masquerades coming around, and masquerades. I'm from the village of Cockhill, and the masquerade would come around and dance and so on. And I remember the bull. However, the masquerades, especially masquerades coming from Salem, there was a guy they called Jimmy Bull, and everybody was afraid of that bull. And I remember as a child, we used to run on the house to hide from the bull. So when you hear the masquerade drum coming up, the first thing you ask, is the bull with them?
We had what you call the carol singing, the Catholic choir. That was a major event. We used to go to all the different villages singing out. And the preparation for that occasion was tremendous. I can remember, my parents and my older siblings that were making ginger beer sandwiches for the choir. That was a big thing.
People playing gopi. And then several villages, like the village that I'm from, Harris's, we would have a day called Old Year's Day. We call it now Harris's Day or St. John's Day, and we would have all activities in Harris's.
Then Christmas Eve was the big shopping day, and we as kids used to walk through the village to hear people slaughter pigs, to hear pigs squeaking as they get slaughtered. On Christmas Eve night, that was a big thing. And then people share the meat among their friends and other persons. And of course, Christmas dinner, Christmas Eve night was church, midnight church. And after that, we would have had the jumbie table set with all kind of the Christmas goodies, all the different drinks, sour drink and sauce and all that. And then we'll have, after midnight mass, we will have like a Catholic feast at my house. We're all Roman Catholics, and of course, my mother's birthday is Christmas Day. So it was like a double thing. We'd be celebrating Christmas and also her birthday.
Jumbie table. So that's not a big part of the experience anymore. Now, when thinking about the first competition, I wondered if the Calypsonians had anything to go off as an example to go, okay, this is how we do it. Was anybody singing Calypso back then?
I recall a gentleman by the name of Pam. You may have heard of him. He's passed away a long time ago. He's from Salem. He was a guy with I don't know how to describe it. He wasn't a white man, as we say, or a black man, but he had a kind of color. We used to call him Mama Whitey Pam. And I think he would have been the first person who would have penned Calypso and Montserrat. Before that, one used to hear about people like Ivan Brown doing this thing. It was like folklore business, but Calypso part of it, I would say that Pam would go down. Pam would go down as the pioneer.
Where did he perform? Where did you see him?
Just when I used to come to see. He was originally from Salem. He would like concerts and so on in the street.
Okay. So there was something. Let's dive into the 1962 competition.
Well, the first competition was organized by the Jessies. The main event was really the Jessie Screen Show. And then they had the Calypso competition as kind of side act.
I was always involved with music. I started singing with the Cockhill community singers back in the 50s. Teacher Eddie had our group was one of the first groups to go on Radio Montserrat. That was Radio Montserrat was in Alveston, at Alveston House. That's where they started.
I used to sing calypsos at school. We always loved calypsos. Me, Lawrence, and Arrow, we the last three. we always used to listen to Calypso from Trinidad, and if we would take a shot at it. So we used to practice Calypsos at home. What we used to do, which I guess helped me with my developing my writing skills, is that we used to listen to these songs on Radio Trinidad and Radio Fusion, and we tried to write out the lyrics ourselves. And then later on, like in March, the Coca-Cola used to put out a book with all the lyrics to all the Calypsos, and then we'll see how accurate we were. So we developed that interest in Calypso from then. You know, I mean, we had the whole Grand Big Radio, we used to listen to the 10s every Saturday.
I used to hear him sing. He wrote a song. He used to work at Hamsey's factory, and I heard him singing a song about bottles busting and flying in the street in factory. And I said to him, it's amazing. I heard Ruler singing. I said, let me try. I could try something myself, so, you know.
And then when the Jessies decided to go have a Calypso competition, I was pretty young, you know, I mean, at the time, I said I wanted to enter. So I went to a gentleman by the name of Mr. Ramsey. He was the editor of the Mirror newspaper. And if you know, one of the songs I sang was Lizzie and Joe. That was a sort of satire in the newspaper, where they will criticize people and, of course, hide behind it fictitious names or assumed names of Lizzie and Joe, and they would say things about people in the community and so on. So I went to that man who was the editor and told him to write me 2 songs, and what he gave me was rubbish. I said, well, let me take a shot of it. And then I wrote Lizzie and Joe. The owner of the paper is a monstration, and the chief editor is a Bajan. But no matter how I try, I can't get to know the 2 people who write in Lizzie and Joe.
The first competition, 1962, I don't remember the second song, but I know the one song. The first song I sang was written by Lawyer Allen. You know him, right? QC. He did this. He wrote that song for me. And he was the one who actually encouraged me to sing.
In the early days of the competitions, there was no real rehearsal. You know, the Jesse screen show going on, those of us who want to sing, we line up outside, and they say, okay, Hero, you're next, Ruler, you're next, Warrior, you're next. And as you're going on stage, the band guy will come up, let me hear you key. And that was it. There was no rehearsal. It's sort of very impromptu sort of affair. So that was how it was. There was no real rehearsal room. There was a guy, Pam, an albino guy. He had moved to England. I don't know why, because Sam White, that was the band. It was a little 5-piece band from Cork. It's not like today. They were not very electronic entirely. You know, just like acoustic. So that's how it started. Very primitive, but very effective.
My first Calypso show, 1962, I was first runner. I got $7.50. And the next year, 1963, when I won, I got $15.
$15? He won $15. In 2012, Calypsonian Cupid won $15,000. Wow. But that's all thanks to Alphonsus Arocastle, who led a boycott of the competition in 1969, which lasted until 1971 in protest over the amount of prize money that was given and the treatment the Calypsonians were getting. The competition resumed in 1972 at the request of Mary Tuitt, who was the Minister of Education, Health and Welfare at the time.
I remember Teacher Mary. She was the Minister of Cultural Affairs there, and I remember she calling Arrow and myself to her office. And she said to us, listen guys, Christmas is when people come back home and you guys, they need entertainment. And you are gonna put this Calypso show back together again. So that's when I started, Arrow and myself, we worked together. And I was the one who told me, Lee, you gotta MC the show. So that's why I started MCing the shows and in the early 70s.
One of the things I admire about our radio station is the fact that Calypso is heard 365 days a year. I wonder if that was always the case.
Yeah, they used to call it Benner songs and what list, and it was so regarded as music unfit for listening or to participate in any competition, was that people during the Lent season, the radio station, Radio Montserrat, never played Calypso during the Lenten season, and some other countries too.
In writing my songs, I always tried not to get too smutty. My father was a local preacher, And I remember the first time when I won Calypso King, he gave me a look. And if looks would kill, I would have been dead a long time. Because he never did. My father always told me, Calypso singing is not for decent people. It's for, he said, Calypso singers are people who like cattle drivers. And he told me one time, if you don't believe me, listen to Sparrow saying, wire, that's cattle driving.
But I think people like Arrow and Swallow and Short Short and lift the standard because the behavior of people used to sing Calypso on the other islands was atrocious. They used to come here and they behave bad. If you look at Belafonte, who in 1952 sold the first $1 million album, which was a Calypso album, imagine that. And he was, Sparrow idea is that, oh, if she not this liquor don't toss her out, you know, that's how Sparrow goes about his lyrics with regards to woman who's not fulfilling her role in the house. But here Belafonte did it. He sang a song, well, it was written by King Boris. This is a writer from Barbados. They were both living in Brooklyn, you know. And he was critical of this girl, the way his wife, who's supposed to be wife, and he sang it, Angelico, Angelico. This is Belafonte, right? Angelico, Angelico, Mama have to take you back. Angelico, Angelico, Mama have to take you back. You don't know how to wash and peel. Mama have to take you back. You walk around the house just with sex appeal. Mama have to take you back. He was very critical here, but in a nice way. He wasn't saying, go outside and bust your head and show you. So this, I think, is what tainted the approach by and the vulgarity that was put in Calypso, and the abuse of women kind of had Calypso on the back burner until we came with happy music. Every day should be a holiday. We were not focusing on woman. It's always about this woman, that, and as far as Village Ram, Harry and Mama, those kinds. So I think they did a lot of damage.
It was Arrow who raised the standard. When Arrow came out and started doing the performance, and people get to realize, wait a minute, there's a lot more to Calypso than, you know. And they realize that there's also some kind of money in it too. You could make a living.
Okay? Oh Lord, I beg you to spoke him properly. I don't want to spoke like the other children in the village. After all, I will talk, I'm monster, shall now we be? People think that is wrong, the talk real monster shot. The stated right, dramatically they can find them words in no dictionary. Calling it bad language, despising we heritage. I don't care if you think that is foolish. This is Montserrat English. Get it wide in the head, that I want you to say. Take my back, I don't give. That's the Montserrat way. Cause it's a best minute walk. On the end of the belly, yes, so. This is Montserrat culture. We'll be proud of it forever. This is Montserrat culture.
What's the use pretending when this language deep within? Me neighbor went New York City.
One of Montserrat's treasures, Arrow Castle entered the Calypso competition in 1967 and was given runner-up spot after Alfred Warrior Christopher. In 1972, he released his first album, Arrow on Target. I did not know Hold On to Your Property was made that long ago. He went on to win the Calypso competition from 1974 to 76, continuing to release music that would eventually solidify him as the king of soca.
I came around Arrow in 77, 78 around there. I was a teenager because I wanted to sing Calypso. And I didn't have a clue how to go about it. And I just found him. I don't know how I found him, but I just found him. I think somebody told me he lived on Wall Street back then. And, you know, 77, 78 around that time. I just went in to introduce myself to him. And the rest is musical history, if I put it that way. he invited me to sit in on his sessions and stuff like that. And he just continued from there over the years. He just, you know, that is where I met folks like the great Everton Reality Weeks, Randy Greenaway, his brother Justin, and Basil Morgan, Clarence Uncle Edwards, and the Burning Flames crew, and you know, other guys who Cecil Castle, cousin of his, and others who, you know, were part of the organization.
What did you learn from him and the others, do you think?
You learn how to carry yourself. You learn how to, in terms of your attire when you're going on stage, you know. You learn how to write songs in general. You learn music, because he was like a musical, he was a musical institution, if you want to put it that way, informally. You know, ideas sharing and this sort of thing.
Hit the groove master one time. Something old, something new.
And you know, it's a lot of our songs that they're not just local. Like he has a song that one of my favorites, Puerto Rican Jam. I like that one, Puerto Rican Jam. And there's another one about one is South America, Colombia rock.
We had to look at marketing and point songs to various markets, and that's how I got to it. Now, if we go back to Hot, now when I did not go to Holland with Arrow and me and Onion, who were session people, we did not go on the tour to Holland. We stayed home to work on the album. So I can remember that Good Friday evening, Arrow called, and he asked are we getting on? I said, we're getting on good, but we weren't making much progress really. But it was so to satisfy to satisfy him, he said, we're getting on good, but we weren't making much progress. So I asked him the question, when you're all jamming in these places, what people say in this Spanish place, they're saying caliente, caliente. That's hot, hot, hot. I said, what? And I said, Onion Boy, that's a good thing. And that is where that came from, you know? Caliente, caliente, because we perform in Colombia and these places, in the Bullring, in Cartagena, San Andres, Barranquilla. And in these places, when you're setting up, doing your sound check, people dancing already. The day hours before the show is gonna be crazy over this kind of music. Guadeloupe, the same thing. You know, we played in Club Mabuya for about 3 months and they're crazy. Shit, people do it, the appreciation of the music.
The only soca song to be 9 years old, and every time you hear it, you think you're hearing it for the very first time. Yeah! Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands in the air for the national anthem of soca music and the national anthem of Montserrat. How you feeling? Up into the hands! Into the hands! Wave your hand now! Talk to me!
Not just for Montserrat. He raised standard for Calypso in the West Indies, in the Caribbean. Let nobody fool you. You start talking about Calypso in Montserrat, in the West Indies, our name gotta come up somewhere. Well, we mentioned Sparrow and Duke and Shot. Arrow is in there somewhere.
The facts are this. The competition began in 1962 with 5 contestants and a 5-piece acoustic band, with singers who were thrusted into this new arena. Musically, how did we go from that to all of the classics we know and love today?
I think Montserrat, you know, being near the Guadeloupe, and so we have a little flavor of our own. And it's so evident in reality, music is a bit different, unique. I think it's a combination of the French next door influence with the soca and the cadence, and then our own little jumpy dance and the you kind of, you know, have a different, like the masquerade. You know, remember reality songs about masquerade, the drumming and so. Of course, it's very unique, and that's what it made Arrow outstanding.
Bands grew from strength to strength. You know, in the 70s, there was Live Wires, there was Great Albs, there was DT&D, there was Libo One, there was the Harper Brothers, there was who else we had? We had Burnt Edges, we had who else we had? We had Generation Gap, we had Hero and Friends, and then, you know, around late 79, you know, after Libo One and Rockers Iration, you know, 79 prepared the way for more amplified music with bands and that sort of thing, and it gave birth to two big groups who took music. And these groups now I'm thinking of in the 70s, late 70s, of course, Mantis, Hammer International, Sledge, you know, and they played a significant role, the musicians themselves, in enhancing the Calypso art form. You know, because Calypso cannot be Calypso without a rhythm behind it, and nice melody, nice music, and bunks and this sort of thing. All that, when it comes together, when it's married together, you know, once it's properly, you know, done, once it's properly cooked, it's like a Saturday afternoon soup that is really done properly. You know, you get a good product coming out of it, man. Especially when we go to school, when September came around, we just couldn't wait to hear, you know, what, you know, the songs of the land. You know, Arrow coming out with his songs. Cotter coming out with his songs, Falcon, Reality, you know, just trying to remember some of the club songs the day back in the 70s, you know, all the Black Prince, you know, Lord Alfredo, you know, all these guys, and you know, you just brought a happy feeling, man. You just gave you a different look on life. That life is all about fun. Especially when Carnival time coming around, when September started hitting in, you know.
Sailing marijuana, that for sailing campo, that for sailing is no joke. In the rum and the cigarette, I say you're buying pockets up there.
I would have mentioned Killman Pope earlier on. I can't remember his first name, but I know him as Killman. He died a few years ago, and may he really rest in peace or play music in heaven. But he sang a song, Rum for Sale. Rum for selling marijuana, rum for selling the liquor. And the first time I heard that song, and when he started this idea, was when I was on duty at the police station. Killman was the type who would get, he drank alcohol and he could have gotten a bit troublesome. Some persons would call the police station. This night I was working with Horace Sullivan on a shift, and Killman was brought to the station. Basically, we did not arrest him. We don't want him getting any accident or any trouble, and we took him to the station. We kept him there to cool out, and then what we would have done is taken him home to sell him where he lived at the time when a vehicle was going that side. This is something we do all the time. And while he's in the cell, my partner at work came across and said, "But you don't have the lyrics," in a teasing way. And if we know Horace Sullivan, this is how you would start a conversation with a Calypsonian. And Sullivan mentioned something about the alcohol, or the alcohol, will kill you, yeah, and it is causing damage. And Killman said, you know, in his dialect, it's true. I don't think I'll be good at trying the dialect. And then we just heard him humming something, and when we went across to where he was lying down on the bed, on a cot, he said, "Death for selling marijuana, death for selling the liquor," and he was tapping on the wall and tapping his foot and knocking on something. It wasn't a wall. On the door, there was a wooden door. And then Sullivan said, "Well, look, you have a song." Then he said, "I go work on it." That year, Death for Sale came out. And listen to me, it's a powerful, powerful song. When he was in his nice, not consumed alcohol state, if you want to call it that, you'd have a conversation with him about Calypso, and listen to me. You just kept learning. I mean, as an old boss of mine, you say, he's impregnated with knowledge and passion for the art of Calypso. And I always say he's one person I miss in Calypso arena. Again, people may say there were bigger names in Calypso than Killman. People may say there were other favorites, but as a consumer, I don't play music, I cannot sing to save my life. But when I hear Calypsos, I always remember Killman.
What comes first? Melody, lyrics? How do you write a song?
With me, I like to write with a melody. But in most cases, a melody and a lyric come. It's already been structured. Sometimes, most of the times, it will be structured. I just start singing, just take on my phone. Thank God for phones, man. Thank God for these devices. You just put voice recorder and just singing, and you just put on the idea, right? And just leave it, and then I revisit it tomorrow. Sometimes I would start a song and I forget it, right? And I go like, oh my gosh, I've lost this lovely melody, lovely idea, right? And one songwriter, one time I was telling him about it. Tell me, don't think about it. It's gonna come back. And it does come back. Sometimes it comes back, you don't even know. And you go, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Oh gosh. And quickly you find that device to put that down on it. And so you could always go back to it. But those days with tapes, sometimes with tape stick, I had to be putting the tape and rewinding it back. And you know, you have to capture the moment there, right there and then.
I would ask people's opinion because I think that is so important. Because sometimes you might think you have it right and you don't have it exactly right. And to have it, critiqued and say it's a great thing. I go back to the flood in 1981 when I was in the song The Flood, and then I was stuck for weeks on the line that 12 inches of rain, 3.5 million gone down the drain. If it did continue, and I needed something to rhyme with continue, and now for weeks and weeks I couldn't get that line, that other line. I would get a bit frustrated. At that time, I used to be on Wall Street on the veranda rehearsing, and a little 9-year-old from Plymouth Primary, one day I was just singing, if it did continue, and I get vexed, I say, shucks, man, what's this other line? And the little girl sang, Montserrat would have done for true. I thought that was fantastic, 9 years old. And that song I went on to win the crown with it. So she was a great help to me in getting that line, because I was stuck for weeks. So it's always good to get help, although the original ideas might come from you, run them by people, and you get different opinions, different approaches, and of course, if you're striving for excellence, that's a process that people should engage in.
To me, Calypso is social commentary. I know you have the other type of Calypso. We talk about the revelry and so forth, and that is good, right? But Calypso is social commentary. You can't get away from that, and it's a particular skill that these Calypsonians have to actually pen that and to bring it across to the audience and to the listeners. Cupid, for example, he's an excellent songwriter. Taboo, brilliant songwriter and social commentator. I hold him in very high regard, right? Sipiki, he's brilliant as well. Randy Greenaway.
I remember the rusty voice of King Rula. I always like to hear Rula sing. He just sounded rusty and scruffy, but his lyrics were well put together, and I always thought that Rula's lyrics were put in a way that, although he had some satire in there, it was still just enough for everybody to pick up, so he didn't take it overboard. It was always enough for persons to know what he's speaking about in the community. But Hero has the voice to make any Calypsonian, the voice and the personality, the delivery to make any Calypso stand out. Hero and Bear are the two of the persons I like to listen to. It's like me watching TV. I see people watch movies and they don't hear what the persons are saying. I need every word that the person is saying. Hero and Bear, in my view, they do that all the time. They do that all the time. They bring out every single word, and their lyrics are so packed, or the lines are packed in a way. They seamlessly go into the next one. If they're telling a story, the verse goes into the next one. So you're able to follow the calypso from start to finish. And I think a lot of their calypsos always leave room for another verse. Something like what Chuck does, if I may mention outside Montserrat, Chuck does. There's always space to continue that calypso with an additional verse or a special verse, as you would say.
They're the voice of the people. They highlight things. You know, the political situation, the social situation in countries.
Calypso is like a window where you look through and you will see all the different things happening over there in the community.
Like this moment.
Galvanized by the thousands, you go in for demonstrations. 80 tons arrive here, and so quickly disappear. Give me two and the galvanized, Mr. Minister. Give me two and the galvanized for me shelter. Them a take galvanized, build goat and sheep pen. Some men get, some get 100 times 10. Where the galvanized? Where the galvanized gone?
Galvanized, which was just talking about the lack of transparency in terms of the distribution of the galvanized. And as recent as the volcano, and some of the same galvanized was found on the people's floors in St. Patrick's and Longo. They didn't even use them. A lot of people misused it. It was a political thing, and the government of that day gave it to their supporters and not really needy persons. Got it? Because remember, 90% of the roads were lost. So that's one of the ills of the past.
And this one?
Invasion, of people coming down. A whole host of Chinese, 50,000 strong, from Hong Kong and Taiwan to take over Fox's Bay. Don't be trampled by invaders, you better stay out the way. No Wing Ting, Wong Chong, dissing you and Chaka Fu. 50,000 Chinese, they come in for true. Men, Ten, Wen Chen, Wing Ting and Wong Tong Chong. 50,000 Chinese take over the land.
There was a medical school here, and the dean was a man called Dr. Teen, and he wanted to expand. He loved Montserrat so well, and one of the things that he wanted to do was to set up a sort of Chinese community in the Foxes Bay, Bransby Point area. And the proposal was for them to have their own schools, so they would buy out all the land, have their own clinics and so on. So I wrote a song called 50,000 Chinese.
And this one.
All you getting for Christmas is a pothole, a pothole, a pothole. All you getting for New Year, pothole, pothole, pothole. 2,000 pothole in Salem, wooden lantern Alveston. 2,000 pothole in St. John's, Banks and Gerald's Bottom, a dodging potholes. Whoa, I can't take it no more, so I had to buy a RAV4.
Potholes?
Potholes, there were a lot of them all over Montserrat. 2,000 potholes. I mean, crying out loud, we're trying, oh God, man, fix these damn potholes, man. They were just devastating people's vehicles. The roads were in a deplorable state.
You know, the 3-verse song on potholes?
3-verse song, yeah. But you see, I had to make it. This is where your creativity comes in. You went to a Christmas party, and the minister gave me no gifts. But I said, Mister, I have a gift for you. No, the minister said, I have a gift for you after, because I came late. You know, it's a story, you build it like a story, right? And the minister gave this person that, wine, somebody got a ring, somebody got a shoe. But it's just speaking for potholes, you. All I have for Christmas is potholes.
These songs have been great in giving the people hope during very difficult moments.
So in 1989, for example, there were 2 songs that stand out for me at the Calypso competition. When we thought there was not going to be a festival, there was the Calypso competition. It was held at the Shamrock Car Park. And Hero and Reality, probably they came back out to give Montserrat hope, if you want to call it that. But here's the thing. There was Hero describing the perceived corruption in aid and supporting the population with roofing material where they galvanize. Really upbeat, signature Hero, well delivered. And this caught the crowd. But then the crowd also needed, the year of the hurricane, the crowd needed that touch from reality that said, have a little faith.
I was in the hurricane all night. I was in the water, and when I came out of it, I went on the roof like a stupid man. I went on the roof to fix the roof in the sun, and you know, my clothes got wet and dry, wet and dry, wet and dry. Then I caught pneumonia. I ended up in the hospital. So when I got out, a song came to me, and I swear this is the best song I ever write. The way the lyrics flowed, because I sat down to write the song and there was no stop. I did not have to go and break, and I just sat down and write the whole song. And like when I sing this song, I'm like, wow, I never had a song like this. But then a few days I was there, and then I did another song. And then I did Have a Little Faith. So I have 3 songs. An artist was supposed to come to get some songs from overseas. So he came. And so, of course, he said, no. I want that song. That's not all, my friend. I want it. The next day, a local artist came, said he's going to enter the competition. So I said, well, I have 2 songs there. And he took the other song. So I'm left with Have a Little Faith. So the next week, the organizers of the competition come up. And we know that you're not singing anymore, but we want you to enter the competition. So I said, guys, if you all had come last week, I would sing. Because if I had That's Not All, I would sing. The guy said to me, well, it's not about winning. And this is how they convinced me. It's not about winning. You just come on, Hugo just hit the country and just come and sing something for, make people feel nice. I mean, say, you guys, you're right. We will sing what we have. When I put out the song, the local guy that I had given it to, and then he didn't want to say, he said, but he said, I made the right choice, because see the way you do that song, I want to sound like that.
Have a little faith. More not your loss, forget the cost. All is not lost. Have a little faith. And this summed up the year to me. This summed up the year that Montserrat went through. And also, I can't remember who sang first, but I always said that if you're making a point about Montserrat at that time, the best thing would have been to describe all what happened and summed it up by saying, as reality said, have a little faith. And in my view, and a lot of persons will tell you, because we probably did not expect the show, because of the circumstances when Montserrat was at its lowest. I got emotional that night. Is that you could not have asked for a better song. It was what Montserrat needed at the time.
between, you're listening to these repetitive, catchy choruses, right? Which everybody would join in. You learn it on the spot. And in between now, you're getting your ears bombarded with the news, the stories, the commentaries, the analyses, the you know, the gossip that they're telling you.
Calypso Finals, which is the biggest night in Montserrat, right? 365 days in the year. That particular day was the biggest day.
The environment would be charged. It was normally always Sturge Park, except in 1989 when it was done at the Shamrock Car Park. This is a whole story in itself.
I was just overawed by what I saw when I went to Sturge Park. Firstly, the amount of people. I've never seen so many people in one space, right?
You had factions, you had fans. It was like the fans behaved like political voters then.
The banter, the arguments, and then when the big stars come out on stage.
They drew closer, for example, when you heard a favorite Calypsonian name being called as the next person on stage.
No matter where people were on the grounds, if reality comes on the stage, the bars will be emptied.
Calypsonian from the north of the island coming to town in the finals. It was a big deal. Basically, it looked like everybody from the north came. If there was somebody from the south, you had all of them. Then you had Drago and the Johnsons, basically the brothers from the east. When they came, the whole of the east was there, and you really felt their presence.
And then hearing people talk about the performances as they were happening on stage and after and so on, that got me thinking a bit more deeper into the Calypso art form. And to realize how interesting it is, how it has affected people.
The front page came out, and it came to pass, it rained bottles and stones at Sturge Park. And never made it to the finals until 86. Placed 5th in the finals, and then 87 now. I can remember, the old talk that goes on, the vibe that's been built up, the hype and all that. And, there was a particular meeting spot a lot of Montserratians and folks used to meet, and that's roundabout in town. It's a gathering area, for different reasons, different purposes. And during the discussions, I was there, I just observing, and everybody was saying who's going to win and who's going to, and nobody even had me in the rankings, anything like that. I just said cool, it was a cucumber, and the night of the competition, the whole thing changed. That's when I won. 1987.
The Montserrat Reporter released a profile called Sepiki is All Set by Basil Chambers on Friday, December 23rd, 1988. Rumor has it that last week Sepiki was in tears. He couldn't come up with a second song which satisfied him. He couldn't get any rehearsal with the band, and he was so frustrated he came close to announcing he was not going to defend his Calypso Monarch crown.
That year was something else, 1988. Things weren't in a way going too well for me. I was defending my crown. I couldn't get no rehearsal. At all. And could you imagine I used to play with the same band? That was Echo. It was a band I used to play with. Right? And I couldn't get no rehearsal. The leader of the band was the organizer. I mean, I did put on my songs. I had one song released that was on the radio early. I did my best to get it out early, because it's been said that when you win, especially in Montserrat, the king is at a disadvantage because you don't get to see him or her. So let me rephrase that. I said the king, the monarch, until the finals night, right? So it's up to you now to promote, your material. And I just had a horrid time in trying to get my songs. At one point I was considering not competing.
But as usual, Cecil Sepiki fought his way with much determination. He now has his 2 songs together, he has been rehearsed, and he's determined to continue being #1 after next Friday night.
I remember that Sepiki and I think Hustler were basically both winners, if you want to call it that. I like to be fair.
People said, I did what I had, I did justice to my songs and stuff like that.
The 2 MCs I recall were Basil Chambers and Kevin Lewis. to prominent MCs at these shows?
It all started with the MCs, eh? When they got the results, they sent back the results and said, boy, this guy walk tonight. I'll go back again with this nonsense, yeah.
Let me know that it was a real, well-contested competition. At some point, we realized that they were taking a lot of time with the results. So the crowd is starting to murmur now. And you heard comments like, they're stiffing, they're rigging up these scores, etc. I just thought that the judges had a real hard time that year. What ended up happening was that the MCs, I can't remember which one, called on stage for roughneck security. That was the term they used. And I remember the current DPP, I won't call his name, but we know who he is. He was one of those that went on stage. Another one was a lawyer, he went on stage as well. These were some big policemen. I was not working that night. And I was with a friend and I said, you know something is not sounding too right. And some persons who seemed to have felt something started drifting away. So I followed them. I drifted away from the front of the stage where I was because I always had a front seat. And then they announced the second runner-up, I think. Oh, sorry, the first runner-up. So it was obvious who would have won the competition.
Dozens of bottles rained on the stage, scattering MCs, bandsmen, engineers, and the police, who had earlier bombarded the entrance to the stage and later ventured on stage when the MC called for roughneck security.
We heard some sort of whistling in the air, and then I was hearing click, click, click. When I looked up with the support of the stage lights and other lights, you could have seen green and brown out there, and what was happening, bottles were colliding in the air on their way to the stage. Some made it to the stage hall, some might have disintegrated before the stage, and some would have disintegrated on impact on the stage. I remember though the roughness security and MCs probably left were out of the stage after the first bottle fell. I mean, they really moved. The competition was that tight. The judges, in my view, I give them the benefit of the doubt, and I call them honest people. They would have done the best they could given the scores they had and what has happened, and they gave a result. The crowd wasn't happy with this one. It tells me as well that the crowd was that charged to support a particular Calypsonian that anything else was not going to work for them.
It resulted in the newspaper, which was owned by, or the editor was David Edgecombe. The front page came out, and it came to pass, it rained bottles and stones at Sturge Park. Look at people, even up to today, people cannot forget that, that event. That same year, when we came back from Dominica and the Air Force Country, I think it was, Gemma Neptune and myself, yeah. And when we reached Blackburn Airport and lay at touchdown, you know, Gemma and I was on the plane, we were looking out through the window, and I looked up at the what do you call it, the terminal area and the tarmac. I noticed, I said, Gemma, they have red carpet on the red carpet on the tarmac. And she was like, what? And then we got out, boy, and we were walking like superstars, like celebs, and I was like, wow. You know, red carpet roll out for us, and then they had this big parade from Blackburn Airport, which is up in the east. It was like another carnival celebration right down to town by the War Memorial, and you know, the government ministers were there, and plenty, a whole ton of Montserrat. People were just happy for the fact that, you know, Montserrat, that their sons and daughters went out and represented, you know, and you know, did well, you know, and did extremely well, as a matter of fact. You know, because one was queen and one was first runner-up, you know, and that was one of my high points back in the day. I wasn't even expecting that. I wasn't even thinking that, you know.
Montserrat in my DNA, Montserrat in my DNA, not only land of my birth, it's the greatest place on earth, a land so sweet, the roots run deep, the small we are, less is more. Montserrat in my DNA, Montserrat in my DNA, not US or the UK.
You see that woman right there? She is the only female to win and holds the third most wins with 4 crowns. And you need to know more about her story.
The first time I actually sang Calypso, it was an encouragement by Everton Realty Rigs when I went to his house with my sister who was in the competition. Paysetters had a competition, my sister was in it, and I went by his house, and he so happened that he got a mail from the bank, and he said, boy, this bank and whatever. So we started messing about trouble in the bank, and he said, that is the song for you, you're going to go in that competition. I entered that competition, but then I was never placed. The song was never played on the radio or nothing.
What year was that?
They thought it was controversial. I can't remember exactly because I never paid any attention back into Calypso. I don't recall. But I think it was the last competition Paysetters had in Plymouth. I entered the big show in 1999, encouraged because I used to back up vocals for the Calypsonians, and Cupid and a couple others encouraged me to sing. Cupid said he'll do 2 songs for me, so he did the 2 songs, Festival from Salem to Lookout and another one. When I said, if I get the feel of the stage, I'm coming for you guys next year and I'm going to beat you all. So 2000, I did. I came back and I did take the crown then. I had a lot of strong support with the songs because those were written by Attacker, another Calypso from St. John's, one of the legends. He was inspired by the way I sang in the first one, so he volunteered to write me my 2 songs for the next competition. I liked how Tanti used to perform, that's Drago's sister. Then he had my sister Tina and V, another sister of mine. They were in Calypso before me.
The highlight for festival for me is the regional female Calypso show. When I first heard the music, I was surprised by the way they sounded lyrically, melodically, and the arrangements of the music were very different to what I would work with for our Calypso Monarch competition. I didn't know Calypso could sound this way.
Funny Vibes. The group included Earl Sullivan, Accident, Eddie Jubry, that's Prince, and myself, Paul Lewis. Some time ago, I think it was the Paysetters who had a local female competition, and that died out, and we thought that at the time you didn't have a lot of females taking part in the Calypso Monarch, and we started a female competition to try and get the interest back up in terms of the females taking part in the Calypso competition. And we did that local competition from 2006 to 2010. And we realized what was happening though. Well, 2006, 7, 8, around there, you had the interest built, and then sometimes they're not able to find a writer. We'll help them out now and again because myself and Accident are writers, and Prince as well, because Prince is a arranger. So we help out from time to time, but then sometimes you don't have like maybe 6, 7 of them. We had to make a decision to end the local competition in 2010, but we decided what we'll do is to replace that on the festival calendar. We would start what would be for the first time a regional female competition. Montserrat, of course, St. Lucia, Dominica, Anguilla, St. Kitts, Tortola, Antigua and Barbuda. A lot of people, those who attended and those who listened, they were really impressed, and they asked us to repeat the competition the following year.
It's not to say you must settle for the mediocre, or you must take a lash from man where that trunk or sober. But sometimes women leave them man, say they're going for better, and the new one they embrace to not to be a monster. Careful what you ask for. Oh, careful what the frying pan, straight into the fire. What you cry for? Why? What you prepare to die for?
I think that there's a certain type of elegance, precision, and cutthroatness that you could only get from a woman that makes this show so exciting to watch, especially from the background vocalist standpoint.
Over the years here in Barbados, you would hear people say things like, you know, the women sing a bit too aggressively, or I sing a bit too aggressively. And this is where I was kind of taken aback when I came to Montserrat and heard the women sing, because I was like, wait. For me, I feel tame. I feel so tame compared to these women, because I was competing up against, the then reigning monarch, which was Minelle. And I was like, when I hear Minelle performing at the rehearsal, and I say performing because she wasn't treating it like a rehearsal. She was literally performing. And I was like, so if I am seen as aggressive, what is this? It was so much passion that she was putting into the performance. And I was like, I feel like I'm barely doing enough here. But I tried not to focus on what they were doing so much, but to focus on what I came there to do, and that was to render my songs.
I mean, with every competition, I always go full headstrong in terms of going all out to winning, because I like to compete, you know. I've started singing since I was 11 years old. So it's something that's instilled in me that, okay, we're in competition mode, so I'm going with all guns blazing. So there's nothing much of like, because it's women, I would, you know, like go down one grade. No, it's always on all guns blazing.
When you have a Karen Ashley coming to Montserrat, someone who have won the title in Trinidad more than once, coming to Montserrat to perform here in a competition, right? That says it all. I mean, our local artists can have something to aspire to, right? Because competing among yourselves, right, not necessarily gonna raise the standard. But when our females compete against that kind of artists, it does wonders.
The Original Woman is one of the best shows so far during our festival season. And I enjoy meeting the different culture of Calypso. When we come together as sisters, actually. Sisters in Calypso. That's what we call ourselves, sisters in Calypso.
Don't think I am grateful, but those I am more than thankful to be recognized. But one thing I pray for, out in the kids each day I walk, slaving away until I drop. Still I can't own a little plot. Calypsonians make big bucks, winning cars and eye catching bus. It's only kid and hard times I suck. Lord, I want a piece of the rock. Give me a piece of the rock. Give me a piece of the rock. The sugar sweet, but the pay is not. Give me a piece of the rock. Give me a piece of the rock. Cover the sandalin, I just want a spot.
We fly in, we do rehearsals, and the truth is you come in with the hope and the faith and the trust and belief that they know your songs, that the band knows your song, that the backups know your songs. And sometimes that may not be the case because they may get the music late, but the rehearsal to me is more stressful because it's like in and out like a robbery. It's like you come in the country, you rehearse your song once or twice with the band, and then you're on a stage. The only section that I don't mind hearing my song for the first time is the judges. I think this is why I really like the regional competition, because more than likely these judges don't know me, they don't know where I went to school, they don't know like nothing about me, right? So they don't know anything about me, they don't know the song, so you sit and you listen for the first time and you judge the song for what you see there, all right? Here in Barbados is a little different because sometimes the judge probably would have judged you in the tank, So if they judge you in the 10 and maybe if they judge you at semi-final, they come with a certain expectation for you to take it to a different level. Whereas in Montserrat, everybody's on a level playing field.
There are songs that I embrace. I can't pinpoint exactly which one. I don't like to pinpoint to say, okay, this is my favorite or that is, but I've heard woman power songs and songs that embrace women, even if it's about their country, because I heard a Grenadian girl sing about her country, you know, and you learn a lot from it. So yeah, most definitely I have learned a lot from the women that I've competed with over the years.
We could not celebrate 60 years without the continuous effort of a number of people. Thank you to all the committee members, Arts Council, Government of Montserrat, sponsors, Ministry of Education, MCWLE, MUL, Ticket Booth Committee, security guards, stage crew, engineers, light technicians, GIU, ZJB, media personnel, graphic designers, photographers, judges, commentators, MCs, songwriters, musicians, arrangers, live props, costume makers, the fans, the Calypsonians, and all the other contributors.
As time went on, things changed. Mother Nature did its thing, Montserrat changed, and I filled the gap. I formed a group in 2001, Black Rhythm, writing for local Calypsonians to ensure that, you know, there's always a Calypso competition.
When I was the Director of Information for the Government Information Unit, one of the things we really did was use the social media platforms to promote the art form and to share content around the Calypso. Thankfully, that had been something that was already started because the government was already streaming Carnival for a few years before that, and that just continued. When I left government and I began Discover Montserrat, again, it was an opportunity just to extend the story. And so our YouTube channel has over 3,000 videos, primarily Calypso from the last 10 years. There are also over 200,000 views on the channel, again, primarily from the Calypso content, with over 11,000 hours of watch time that people have put into it. So it's important because it helps to chronicle what's happening, and it's not just the winners. You get to see all the people who go through the eliminations because they're part of our Calypso story as well.
So in my song, I put them together. Salsa and soca, soca and salsa. I salsa dancing, with me amigo, watch me salsa dancing.
I was an executive member of the Montserrat Union of Teachers back in 2000 it was, I think. And a lady who you also know by the name of Ma'am Ryan, Mrs. Pat Ryan. We were trying to raise funds. One of the things we were raising funds is to send a number of students, athletic students from Montserrat to the CUT Games, the Caribbean Union of Teachers Games. We didn't have the money. We wanted to send more people than we had the money for. And she came up with this brilliant idea of having a junior Calypso competition. Sometime around 2002, I started teaching children music on a voluntary basis. Obvious talent of the children and the program was so successful that I figured that if we're having a children's show, we could have a children's band and make it a complete children's show.
The foundation of Calypso came due to the inefficiencies that was noticed during the chairmanship of the competition. And it revolved around the fact that persons spent more time waiting for the results than actually being engaged in the competition. So that was the front and visible part of it. But the more challenging aspect of it was the amount of effort and resources it took to get the event organized to facilitate the scoring. So for example, you would find yourself having to be copying countless numbers of criteria sheets, score sheets, getting judges packs together, tabulators together. So it was like having a mini army just to facilitate the actual scoring of the event.
But some might say that the bringing in Calypso will change the energy, because what I've been told is that waiting for the scoring was then a whole thing, because then you go and you get drinks and you wait and whatever. So did you have any sort of people not being happy about the fact that you brought it in because it changed the dynamic of the show and like what was expected over all these years?
In every advancement, there is going to be some degree of discomfort. And while Calypso sought to make things efficient, we did not intend to make the social aspect of the event unsociable. We figured that having access to the results enabled the event organizers the ability to determine how soon those results could be presented. So for example, we would have found ourselves in a position where an event ended at 1 o'clock and persons were in the park waiting until 4 o'clock to get results. Now, that might be a little bit, stretched in terms of some of the events, but the bigger event, those were the kind of timings that you were looking at. It took a while, to the point where the park was, in most cases, empty before the results were ready. You understand? So while persons might say, well, you took away some of the energy, the objective is there are some persons who came to the event to partake in the event, get the results, and go home. If we're looking to sell a product, and not a product just locally, but within the diaspora, where someone in the UK is 5 hours ahead, waiting up to partake in an event, and the event is over, and they have to wait until the next day to get the results of that event. It's like you watching Miss Universe. They went through all of the different segments, and then they stay tuned for the next 3 hours. We get you the result. You're not going to be happy, especially if you've paid to partake in this. So we looked at it as a holistic product. How can we make the product efficient enough that is able to be packaged in a way that persons can feel comfortable that they're getting a holistic product? So that also is one of the benefits or advantages that we envisioned Calypso bringing to the event organizing.
Wow. So was Montserrat the only island that was using a software to tabulate?
Montserrat was the only island for a very long time who was fully digital. Not just using a software for tabulation, but fully digital. Because remember, we took it not just in punching in information and you get the results. The submissions, the criteria, the score sheets, everything was fully web-based. So each judge got a tablet, they put in their scores, and after every submission, the results were just. As innovators, we need to move Montserrat forward. And I think within a month, 2 months, we were able to just sit down, get all the different concepts together, and we were ready to pilot. And it just so happened, I think we did it on the 50th.
But I've sent you guys to the up and running from this morning. Good luck to all of you.
You can tell what's happening in the country when you turn on the morning show and you hear a particular song from 1980 something that Basil is playing. You know that something is happening, and usually that perks me up and says, okay, I need to go pay attention. What's going on? Why would he play this song?
I try to be abreast of things that are happening, and we do have some Calypsonians here who've written stuff maybe in the past, or stuff, but they're relevant today. Or if there's an issue on Ireland that is topical, I can actually find a song to go with it. I don't know I think it's my calling. I think it's because of maybe what I do, I take seriously. And I try to make sure that whatever I'm playing makes sense with what's happening.
Think of Radio Montserrat as the guardian of the Calypso in Montserrat. We're the ones who protect it, right? We're the ones who ensure that Calypso continue to live on in Montserrat, continue to thrive and to develop. There was a time when we were only playing Calypso, local Calypso, around Christmas time. Even I came to ZJB in 1987, and when I came to the radio station, you hardly hear a local Calypso throughout the year. Yes, you would hear Arrow, because he's Arrow, right? But in terms of the local artists, you hardly heard them apart from Christmas time. But then we started to change that, right? Because we realized that the people out there, they wanted to hear more of the local music. So we created a program, a show called Vintage Montserrat, where we focus solely on the vintage songs, the old time Calypso music from the 70s and the 80s in particular. So we did that on a Saturday night, and hugely popular, especially among the diaspora people in the UK and the US. They look forward to hearing that type of music on a weekly basis. But then we move beyond that now, and we're incorporating these local songs in our daily programming. So on any given day, you would hear local Calypso or local music in particular on the radio station. But it's a conscious effort we made to have these songs played, because it's our culture, it's part of who we are. Ever since, and this is going back in history now, long before my time at Radio Montserrat, Radio Montserrat used to go out and record these Calypsos, whether in the band house or actually live performances on stage on the night of the competitions and so forth. Go out and tape these, not the best quality, some of them, right? But have them available for airplay, right? And so the listeners now, the people out there, can hear these Calypsos and know what they are before the actual competition. And we do that up to this day, right? Even though the technology as such is that these guys can go in a proper studio and record their songs, have beautiful quality and so forth. We still record, we still go out and record these songs on the night of the eliminations or semi-finals and so forth, and have them for airplay, because not everyone can afford to have a proper recording of their music. So you can say that Radio Montserrat has played a very, very, very critical role in terms of preserving that aspect of our culture. We've digitized 100% of our music, right? There's a hard task, a big job. The year 2000, that's when we started to digitize all our material, not only the Calypsos, but other material, historical material that we had to rescue from Plymouth because of the volcanic activity. I'm not sure where the art form would be had not for Radio Montserrat, I have to say.
I have learned so much from this experience. I do not take this opportunity lightly, being able to talk to these legends. My curiosities are now fully satisfied, and I hope that you've learned something new too.
People at the top of the bracket are the main ones